This is one of my favorite lists to do for the start of any new season. Not necessarily who's the best player, but who's going to decide how this season goes. Yes, those lists are a little bit different. There are some guys who are, whether you want to call it X factors or anything like that, there are some guys who can just shift the balance of a season. And I have picked out the five that I think could really change how things go for MLB in 2026. So again, not necessarily who are the best players in Major League Baseball, just who are the most important, I guess maybe not even that, just who could shift how things go this season. We'll explain as we go along with this list. At number 5, it's Jarren Duran. Obviously, there has been a lot going on with this player, but for the Red Sox, there's a bit of a frustration that they didn't go out and land that really big splash in free agency. They made some very solid moves, I think, for Boston, and they're going to be competitive yet again. But I think someone who could take them from fringe wild card to fringe winning the American League is Duran. If he can find another level to his game with Anthony and the progress we assume that he's going to make and a pitching staff that certainly should be feared right now, there's a real possibility that the Red Sox kind of take over in baseball's most competitive division, and that would really shift the balance of things when you're looking at the Yankees and the Blue Jays and the Orioles, I guess, battling for that top spot along with the Mariners for a number 1 or number 2 seed in the American League. We saw how important that was last season. If the Red Sox can get that, it's going to change a lot of plans for a couple of teams, and I think Duran is the big key for that. In the National League East, number 4 is Ronald Acuna Jr. His health really, I think, shifts how the National League East goes this year. I've said before, I think the Phillies are one of the most talented teams in baseball. I think the Mets are one of the most talented teams in baseball. When healthy, the Braves have more talent than all of them. And Acuna is the straw that stirs the drink. They have been able to survive without him before. I don't think they can now. If this guy can get back to A, being healthy, and B, anything close to what he was pre-injury, then the Braves could win the National League East and once again be that real threat for the Dodgers in the National League. Like this is, it has kind of felt like it's the Dodgers world, and oh, that's cute that you guys are close. But the Braves could actually give them a run for their money here in 2026 if they all stay healthy, but specifically if Ronald Acuna Jr. can. And if he can't, then this team is maybe battling for, not maybe, this team's battling for a wild card. At number 3, it's Cam Schlittler for the New York Yankees. A, his name's going to get a broadcaster fired. But B, obviously New York is counting on some form of internal growth this year as they're running it back with essentially the same team with a bit of a different bullpen from the one that they had a season ago. There is going to be, at some point, Garrett Cole coming in and pitching. Rodon banged up. We've seen how good he can be. We've seen how good Fried can be. But if Schlittler can take a step, then all of a sudden, this rotation, that's where the improvement comes from. That's where the growth with the Yankees comes. And that is, I guess, specifically where they can improve on their mark from a season ago. But if he takes any kind of a sophomore slump back, then you are really relying on best case scenario from Fried, who got his S rocked by the Blue Jays in the playoffs, and Cole, who is coming off of an injury, and Rodon, who is wildly inconsistent, and banking on back-to-back good seasons from him would terrify me. So Schlittler puts all of that to rest, and if he can not only just stay at that form from last year, but maybe even improve on it, then yeah, the Yankees should be a favorite in the American League East and in the American League just in general. If he can't, if there's any step back for him, this rotation feels very gettable and feels like a problem for a Yankees team that also maybe has some depth issues out in the bullpen. We'll get to the top 2 in just a second, but a reminder, if you're enjoying this from Couch Potato Diary, you search for the show in podcast form on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your pods. Number 2 is, I'm cheating a little bit, it's a split of a couple of guys. It's Bo Bichette and Devin Williams. Bo is one of the best hitters in baseball. Got the Blue Jays hat on. I know what I'm talking about with this dude. The guy on one leg hit a home run off of Shohei Ohtani in Game 7 of the World Series. But we have also seen him stumble a little bit. And this is a guy who struggles with mobility a little bit and is now coming off of an injury, and he's starting a new position. There's a lot that's going into this with him. So I think there's a bit of variance in what this guy could be. If he is guy who almost led the American League in hits last year, despite being injured for the last month of the season, then this Mets team has a chance to win a championship. Like, he can be that good with Soto hitting behind him, with Lindor probably hitting in front of him, and some of the power bats they have with the kids after that. If he can be that guy, then this is one of the best lineups in baseball, and everyone else is in a bit of trouble. And if he can be even passable at third base, then that helps to solve a lot of problems. But if this is a half step back for him this year, I don't know if they have the guns to compete with even the Phillies or the Braves in that division. So a lot is swinging on what Bo does. And Devin Williams, kind of the same thing. This pitching staff wasn't the most reliable a season ago. And neither was Devin Williams. Same city, but different borough. Does getting out of the pressure of the pinstripes help out Devin Williams with the Mets and get him back to his best reliever in baseball form that he had with the Milwaukee Brewers? If he can, then this offseason goes from great to amazing for the amazing Mets. And again, championship caliber. But we saw with the Yankees last season, it can fall apart a little bit. And a couple of games falling apart against the Blue Jays and against some other American League East teams kept the Yankees from home field advantage in the first round and kept that team from probably advancing farther in the playoffs. So those guys could really swing the balance, I think, in the National League East and just in the National League in general. And at number one, a little bit of homerism here, but it's Vlad Guerrero Jr. I am of the belief that we have seen the leveling up of Vladdy with the playoff run he had last season, and then transitioning into the WBC, he hit a ball a mile in the last spring training game against the Tampa Bay Rays. If this is just who he is now, and you can't expect a guy to have that level of intensity for 162 games, but if that's what he is now, if he can be at an MVP caliber, then the Blue Jays can threaten again for a World Series championship with the pieces that they have around him. But with the Santander injury, with Bo Bichette leaving, if Vladdy has an off season for Toronto, Varsho improvements, whatever. Okamoto feeling comfortable, fine. Upgrades in starting pitching when healthy, fantastic. Hopefully the bullpen's a little bit more consistent, okay. But if Vladdy's not doing that, it's not going to matter. This team isn't going to be better than the Yankees, the Red Sox, or the Orioles. They're going to go from hosting Game 7 of the World Series to maybe playing on the road in the wild card round. That's where I think the variance is and how important Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is. And that is why he is the number one guy who I think really decides how this season goes, not just for the Blue Jays, but for all of Major League Baseball. Anyone else who you think is a real pivot point, a fork in the road, if you will, for the MLB season, let me know in the comments, and we can keep the conversation going there. Also, if you want to help support the show, just watching is fantastic, and I really do appreciate it. But there is a tip jar when we are streaming live on Twitch and Kick. It's in the panels there, and if you're listening or watching, it is in the link. It is linked in the description. And again, just help to support the show so we can do this a little bit more consistently and help grow the channel even more.